Hey folks, well recently I had a request to do a bug out bag video. What do I carry in my bug out bag? And to be perfectly honest, I don't have what I would classify as a bug out bag. What I carry is a get home bag. I live in the country, I work in the city, so I figure if something's going to happen, I want to be able to get home rather than away from home. Now sure, there may be instances where you need to get out of your house fast and you need just some basic essentials. Justin Wolf from Greyer Wolf on YouTube actually has a pretty good video on a bug out bag that he keeps by his, I think he keeps it by his front door or whatever, but something that in case there was a fire you could grab it and then get outside and still be protected for a little while anyway. My deal is if something happens, I want to be able to gather some basic essentials and get back home. I live, depending on the job site, approximately 70 to 75 miles one way from where I work. So I figure that's a good, potentially 3 days worth of travel on foot for me to be able to get home. So I have some things that will help me get home. One thing that's hard to carry in my state is water, and because it freezes. But I live in the land of 10,000 lakes and a ton of different ponds. Sure, it's going to take a little bit to boil my water, but that's the trade-off that you have to have for carrying water. Now I do have a Pathfinder bottle that I carry to and from work out of my car every day. Right now, currently, I have a job trailer that has, nice, good bottled water, and I try and fill that up every day for the ride home to have something to drink. So I am carrying some water. But anyway, let me grab my backpack and I'll show you what I got. Alright, so the first thing you'll notice is this wool blanket. I carry this wool blanket in my car. I usually try to keep my backpack in my trunk or covered up with my wool blanket. I'll be honest, it's like I live out of my car. My car is very messy, but for me, that's not a big deal because if I have a nice, brand new, awesome looking backpack in the back of my car and a nice folded up, Hudson Bay blanket or whatever, it invites theft more than just a big jumbled pile of crap in your car. I know where everything's at. It's organized chaos in my car. I know I can just reach in and grab stuff and go. But it's not, blatantly, hey, look at me, I've got a backpack full of stuff here. This backpack isn't exactly what they call gray man or whatever, but I guess I don't worry about that too much. This is part of the LBE system. I believe that's what it's called. The Marine Corps backpack thing. I love my backpack. This was the patrol bag, I believe they call it. Anyway, just any old backpack will work. And I haven't gotten into this for quite some time, but I do know what's in here. So for my state, I always want to make sure that I have plenty of clothing for the cold weather. I have a pair of bibs in my car that every once in a great while I'll use in the winter for work, and I also have a nice pair of snow boots in there. Right off the bat, I have a wool scarf. So, oh, by the way, the blanket is 100% wool or blanket. It looks to me like it's about a twin-sized. Wool scarf, military, 100% wool. I'll pull all this stuff out and then I'll lay it out and get an overview of it. I've got a nice 100% wool stocking cap. This one is also military if I remember correctly. Yep, it's a watch cap. I have a pair of wool mitten liners. These are the ones with the trigger finger in them. I use these quite a bit in conjunction with the outer mitt with the military system. So I have a clean canteen. This looks to me like it's a pretty decent sized one. I can't even remember. Right on here, 40 ounces. So it's a good sized water bottle. This is just a generic nesting cup that I got from Walmart, I think. I've got a couple of things of food in here, just something that that will store for a long time in my car, and I can just add hot water to. I wouldn't be opposed to adding water to this, sealing it back up, maybe putting it on top of my ruck so that the opening is up, and then just letting it rehydrate for even a few hours while I'm hiking back home. I've got some folks sent me these things. I'm not really a big fan, but I figured what the heck should I do with them? They're called survival tabs. They're not exactly, you know, the greatest snack in the world, but they do have quite a few different, you know, calories and vitamins and things like that, rather than try and store a Cliff Bar or something in my car that may or may not melt, and it's just going to expire quicker. These are supposed to last for quite a while. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of them, but it's something to put in my pack. And another meal. So inside of that bag, let's see, we'll dig out. In here, I've got a couple of 55-gallon drum liners. We all know how useful those can be. And I've got something inside of here as well. Yeah, that's my emergency space blanket, my tarp system. I've got some stakes along with quite a bit of paracord. I've just got some cloth that kind of prevents these stakes from poking through into my space blanket. These stakes are kind of a fun thing. I've had them for quite some time. Cold Steel there for a while, and I don't know if they still do it or not, but was sending out a lot of plastic type knives, and I think these are called like a Delta Dart or whatever. Well, I don't really have any use for knives that can't be detected by metal detectors, so to speak, so I got rid of my knives that I had, and then the Delta Dart is just a good little stake. So there's my shelter. So here I've got another meal. We'll just dump this out. I've got a pair of leather gloves, bandana, plenty of paracord, another meal, a new Baco Laplander saw, quite a bit of bank line, and the spools here, there's 2 corks in the end. And inside of there is some hooks, some weights, and that's about it. Weights, split shot along with egg sinkers, sliding weights. And this bobber, or this cork, has a little eyelet in one side to be used as a bobber if I want to do that. Got just a cheapo spork just because. And this, I've heard this referred to as a silcock. John McCain of Survival Resources has a video on this. This is a unique tool that is pretty neat if you live or work in the city. On the outside of most buildings, they'll have a hose bib, but they don't have an actual handle for the faucet. They don't want people just coming up and turning on the water and draining the water. But with a tool like this, those handles, they have little hex head type nuts on them, and this has 4 different sizes to fit. I haven't found one yet that it hasn't fit, but you can, even if the water is turned off in the city, if you work in a, you know, or near a building that has many stories to it, there's still going to be water pressure from all the floors above ground level, and you can still get water out. The only thing I'll say about this is make sure that you don't open up a sprinkler standpipe, because sprinkler water is nasty, it's full of grease, and it's just disgusting. Certainly not something palatable. Okay, so I've got some, let's see if these are true mini Infernos or if these are ones that I made. No, these are true mini Infernos. I've got just a piece of inner tube holding it together. I've got some old school safety matches, just military type windproof safety matches. I'm not an absolute huge fan of matches, but once in a while they are kind of neat to have. And of course if a striker gets wet, you're basically screwed, but that's why I keep it in a Ziploc. I have an antler handled ferro rod that I made myself with just a hacksaw scraper. The hacksaw scrapers don't work very well, but I have a knife as well. I've got a magnifying glass just because, you know, my eyes are getting a little bit worse nowadays. I need cheaters now, and plus it's a good fire starting device. And then just some toilet paper. And then in here I have a Mora knife, and if you notice on it, it is absolutely coated with just a heavy, heavy grease. Now that can be, the grease can be used for many different things. It can aid with your fire starting, but it's going to protect this blade so I can leave it in my pack for, well, it's been in there for years and never have to worry about it rusting or anything like that. And then in here, I've got, this is all 100% cotton, and on the inside is a bunch of different sized fat wood, really good fat wood. Okay, and here I've got a 1 or 2 person emergency space blanket. It's just something that I packed in there. As you can see, a lot of my stuff is based on the cold. So it's a little heavier duty than the one, I would consider this a one-time use too, but this is a little bit heavier duty than just the regular straight up silver space blankets. Alright, and then in this container here, I've got a flashlight with batteries taped together with electrical tape. That way I don't want them going across any metal and draining. These batteries should be changed out. I've had them for quite some time. I also have a different flashlight in my lunch pail. This is just a mag light. It's just something that actually came from one of my family reunions, but I've got some electrical tape wrapped around it for ease of seeing it if I drop it on the ground, but then also electrical tape can be used for, you know, multitude of uses. And then I have another hunk of bank line, this time a little bit thinner bank line. I've got some dental floss in here, and then I've got, I don't remember exactly what this size is called, but it's basically a P38, but it's the bigger size of the P38. Alright, I'll lay it all out, give you a look. Don't forget about all the Ziploc bags. Those are handy too. Okay guys, I know there's going to be a couple questions as far as, like, you know, what type of Mora was it? I didn't even look. It's like a companion or something like that. Any one of those Moras, the robust, the companion, whatever they are, if they're high carbon steel, I always grind down the back of them. I love them all. It doesn't matter. I also carry an STKR Scout in my lunch pail, along with another ferro rod, and like I said before, another flashlight. I always carry a pocket knife with me as well, and I usually have 99% of the time I have a Leatherman with me as well. How much does my pack weigh? Approximately 25 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. And then I could add my blanket, which there's still room in the pack. I could stuff it in there if I absolutely had to, otherwise strap it to the outside. And then I've got my other water bottle as well. All together with that 40-ounce bottle of water and a 32-ounce bottle of water, I'm thinking it weighs 25, less than 30 pounds, approximately. Now, as far as the fishing kit, I can't take credit for that idea. I actually traded a young man for that setup, and I thought it was brilliant. It was set up for catfishing, but what I did is there's still some pretty darn good sized hooks in there, bigger than what I need. But if you've ever smallmouth bass fished, you know that they can hit some pretty decent sized hooks. But I also added some actually really small hooks, probably along 8 size, and then I added some monofilament line in there to be used as a leader so that I could attach that to the bank line. So, and there's some decent sized egg sinkers and some small split shot. I think that's probably all the questions. If you have any other ones, just throw them in the comments and I'll try to answer them as best I can. So, alright guys, hope you liked the video. Take care.